Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Father-Son Packers podcast, your source for Packers news, notes, and analysis. My name is Tommy, and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my dad, Matt. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. That was fun.
Great, even, some might say.
that was a lot of fun and a low-stress game.
Yes.
Plus a fun weekend of football overall.
Yeah, definitely. A fun weekend of football overall. Some electric games, with the Sunday night game between the Bills and the Ravens. Steelers-Jets somehow being an awesome shootout. Close game between the Falcons.
I watched an unpredictably large amount of that Jets-Steelers game.
Yeah, and close game between, Falcons-Tampa. You had a couple other games come down to the wire. And most fun of all for us, the Packers advanced to 1-0. With a 27-13 win over the Detroit Lions to move to 1-0 in the division. So if you were under a rock this weekend, that's what we're here to talk about. Normally, for post games, we're going to be here on Mondays, but we had some scheduling stuff, so we're recording this Tuesday and bringing it to you Wednesday. So apologies for the late bit in the recording. And then pretty much right after we do this, we're going to record our preview for the Packers Thursday game against the Commanders. So check your feed for that. So yeah, a little bit tight scheduling here because of the bit of traveling stuff and then the Thursday night game. But normally we'll be doing Mondays. We'll be recording and getting that back out to you on Tuesday early morning, so apologies for the quick late turnaround on the post game and a quick turnaround on the pregame. But yeah, we are here today to talk about the Packers win over the Lions. Fun game if you're a Packers fan. We're going to talk a little bit about the defense, the offense, the special teams. Really all around a nice game for the Packers. Before we get into any of that, though, just wanted to pitch a couple of things. If you like what you hear, subscribe, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, Apple. Like I mentioned, we're going to be doing 2 episodes a week for the entire season, pre and post games for every single game. And then I guess during the bye week, we'll only do one, but c'est la vie. But anyway, so we're going to be doing that.
You can listen to our podcast twice if you're missing us.
If you're really feeling it, yeah. But yeah, so we're going to be doing that. Check us out on Blue Sky at Father-Son Packer for updates on Packers news, Packers roster moves, updates about the games, et cetera, et cetera. And speaking of news, we do have one piece of news to touch on, which came out today. I don't know how much we want to touch on this. Maybe we'll touch on this in the pregame a little bit more, but maybe we'll just talk about it now. Pretty much like an hour or a few hours before we recorded this, the Packers signed Christian Watson to a 1-year extension, $13.25 million. Dad, what were your thoughts when this came across, the timeline?
My first thought was, I think this is actually probably a good thing for the team and Watson. I'm not surprised that Watson would want to sign a 1-year deal to prove how healthy he is and that he has a chance to play after having more time to fully recover, because sometimes people aren't right, the first 12, when they first come back after 12 months, and they say they're not fully themselves for a little while. So this gives them a chance to play and show how good he is when he's far out from the initial injury. And the Packers get him for an extra year on, not that high of a cost if it pays off, and it's not with only a 1 year. It's not that big of an investment. In some ways, it's like, I saw somebody mention this. I can't remember who you were. Sorry. 5th-year option. As a picked, 2 picks into the second round.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that as kind of a way to think about it. Yeah. I'm happy about this for, Watson's point of view. Seems like a great dude in the locker room. Everyone loves him, works his butt off. One of the best blocking receivers on the team, which I think kind of exemplifies that. I think this is also a really big positive for him because he doesn't need to feel like he needs to rush back and prove himself before, it's he would have to be in free agency this offseason.
For him to have this bit of security.
Exactly. Because otherwise he probably would have felt that underlying pressure where he's okay, I got to get back because I got to prove that I'm worth money for some team, even if it's not the Packers. And then now it's okay, I can really wait till I'm 100%, which I think is really awesome from him. From the Packers point of view, I'm a little surprised they did this. I mean, I think obviously when you look at the intangibles of Watson and how awesome he is in that room, Romeo Dobbs mentioned how he picked him up last year when Dobbs was feeling down, Watson helped him with that. And I think Watson was having a strong year last year before he got hurt, unfortunately. I'm a little surprised they did this though, just because the receiver room has so much young investment in it and guys that were kind of ready to step into that role next year. Having still Reed and Wicks on the roster next year under contract, Golden and Savion Williams, who you just drafted, some other guys as well. So I'm a little bit surprised they did this. $13 million is not a ton. Just keep in mind, Tutu Atwell got $10 million, and he's a solid player, but Like it's kind of in line with that, I would say. So it's not exactly a huge investment. I'm a little bit surprised though, but excited for Watson. Good for him. Congratulations to him. And yeah, I think this is like a big positive for him. And, it's not a huge investment from the Packers, but it does, it gives them some more receiver help going into next year as well. You wouldn't be losing Dobbs and Watson. You would at least still have Watson. So there is something to be said about that.
Yeah. I wasn't sure, even though it's been, a pretty good draft class, how many more of that draft class would come back to the Packers after this year.
Yeah, that's a very fair question.
Because of the investments in both the draft and free agency in some of those positions.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. But that's the main news. Like we mentioned, that's like awesome for Watson. Once again, congratulations to him. Moving on, though, I think we should probably, before we get into talking about this game anymore, probably start with the negatives, which is the injury update. A few players did go out in this game, which is probably the biggest downside of this game. Zach Tom left with what was eventually called an oblique injury. We initially thought it was a hip injury, and that was what he was ruled out with. He was riding the bike on the side. He did not return. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the next podcast when we're doing the injury preview for the game against the Commanders. And then Aaron Banks also left with an ankle injury. Now, Matt LaFleur said both of them are going to be given up until game time on Thursday to see if they're ready to play. But they have not practiced so far this week. But Matt LaFleur did say it's not considered to be they're not considered long-term injuries, which is at least good news. But we'll talk more about that in the next episode. So check that out. Keep your eyes tuned to that feed. Beyond that, though, Bo Melton left with a shoulder injury and Brenton Cox left with a groin injury. So a lot of shuffling went along on the offensive line in particular. Dad, any thoughts on, any of those four, injuries there? Obviously sucks for all those guys, but I think the offensive line was definitely where it was felt the most, right?
Yeah, and they had to really kind of play with alignments a lot. And they were already doing a little bit of apparently with Morgan coming in for Ryan for some of the time.
Yeah.
But
I thought the most interesting thing was Kennard was the first guy up at right tackle, and he's only been there, like a week and a half?
And he looked good.
Man, he looked solid in the run game. In the run game, he looked good.
His run blocking on a couple of those plays looked quite good.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting, given that, Belton's been there all offseason. You would have thought he'd be the first guy up at right tackle. And he got some reps later. It kind of seemed like just some, work him in reps. But yeah, Kennard was the first guy in at right tackle, which was a bit surprising. I thought, hey, maybe it'd be Belton, maybe Morgan even. But yeah, no, so it's Kennard. That was definitely something interesting. And then later when Banks went out, it was Morgan at left guard and Ryan at right guard. And then Kennard still right tackle, and then they did some Belton at right tackle. But yeah, so keep your eye tuned to those, though. Those are definitely going to be ones to watch for going into this week against the Commanders, and we'll give you all the information that you need to have on that front. Moving into the game, though, and talking about what went on in this game, like we mentioned, the Packers win 27-13, but it wasn't quite that close. The Packers from the 8:39 mark of the second quarter, the lowest our win probability dropped to was 79.1% according to ESPN. So really handled the game. And I guess my gut reaction for this game, and we'll get right to that, was I was just like, wow, what a great way to start the season. A really exciting performance. And I just thought that the team looked really prepared and looked really high energy, which were my two gut check takeaways. But Dad, what was your gut reaction to this game?
This is a really fun game to watch. I really like they got off to a good start, jumped on the lines early. Thanks, Dan Campbell, for giving the Packers the ball first.
Oh, they won the coin toss? I
think that's what I was talking about. They won the coin toss and elected to defer. And would LaFleur have taken it if he had won the coin toss? But it really established the tone of the game by the Packers, first possession.
Yeah, and I guess we can just jump right into that because we're doing something a little bit different with both our pre and our post games in terms of the structure of them. Wanted to do something that felt like a little more flowy. And so we're going to start with just talking about this game from a kind of moments perspective. I think you and I each had 3 moments we wanted to highlight in this game, and we're going to go chronologically for these.
I took the word moment rather
very
loosely.
vaguely. Well, I started it, to be fair, because I picked 3 plays as the moment, and I think you picked a whole drive as a moment. So I guess moment is maybe stretching it a little bit. But so
it's a moment in geological time.
No, it's all relative, right? But anyway, I thought that. So we're gonna go chronologically. I thought the first big moment of this game, though, was that first drive and the third down specifically. And like I said, it's cheating because it's multiple plays. But on that first drive, the Packers faced 3rd and 10, and Love completed a 16-yard pass to Wicks in the middle of the field. 3rd and 6, and that was an 11-yard pass to Golden on the left side of the field, which was the first catch of his career. Shout out to him. And then 3rd and 9, which was the 15-yard touchdown pass to Kraft, which was a beauty of a pass. I love rewatching that on the replay. And so converted all three, including a touchdown on the last one. And in the context of the game as a whole, like you mentioned, like just starting out the game on that foot and converting all of those and scoring a touchdown was just massive. I thought Love was, he was on fire the whole first half. He only threw the ball 6 times in the second half because the Packers were kind of sitting on the ball, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, he was just on fire there. And I thought him converting those 3rd and longs was huge for the offense and huge for the team to, go out there and put 7 points on the board really quick. And so that was my first big moment of the game where I was like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. Dad, what was the next moment of the game that, really stood out to you?
Well, I just wanted to say about those third downs, the first 3rd down we got, it's started getting a little nervous. It's okay, let's not go 3 and out here because they got to a first down. Third down try before they got a first down. So I was like, oh man, let's not go 3 and out. And then they converted on what was really a well set up and well designed play. And then they just kind of kept that momentum going. For me,
I think we got one first down before our first 3rd down. We had that Romeo Doubs pass.
Oh, that was on second.
That was on second.
Romeo Doubs was second.
So we got one. Don't sell us too short. We can do something on the early downs. We can do at least a little bit on the early downs.
Second and
just
9
a bit.
there. Yeah.
But yeah, like you mentioned though, other than that, the early down stuff was really tough. But anyway, what was the next big moment of the game for you?
So for me, I had the Packers' first defensive possession.
So just starting the game really strong on both sides of the ball.
First 2 possessions back to back. They right after scoring on their own first possession, they forced a 3 and out from the Lions to secure the advantage from the start of the game. They didn't let it match, and then they never got a chance to match again.
Mm-hmm.
First down, they stuffed Gibbs for a 1-yard run. I think Gary and Van Ness got the tackle, and with some inside disruption from Wooden that basically sealed off the inside lane. And on second down was a pass to Gibbs for only 2 yards with a nice tackle by Nixon. And on third, there was another pass to Gibbs for negative 2 yards. Eventual tackle by Van Ness, but I think Cooper was the one who kind of disrupted the play right after the catch.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the defense more detailed in our big picture section. But yeah, that was such a great way to start the game. And then the next moment I had that was really a highlight was the Evan Williams interception, which was a pretty big point in the game. In terms of the Lions had been driving, they were in the red zone, and then all of a sudden, immediate pressure from Micah Parsons on just a sick inside move. It was just fantastic. It looked like he teleported when you watch it from the end zone angle. And then Evan Williams just does an awesome job of rotating down, and because they kind of disguise it very well, where it initially looks like he's going to be the deep safety, and then he comes down at the snap and is just watching Jared Goff's eyes the whole way, and just starts breaking into a sprint and just dives, catches it, does a really good job of securing the catch as well and making a play on the ball. But I thought that was a really awesome point in the game because the Lions were driving there and had a chance to put some more points on the board, and that really seized control again for the Packers right there.
Yeah, and I kind of missed just how good his play was until I saw the replay to see his anticipation and how he broke on the ball to cut in front of him for the pick. And he read that just perfectly.
Yeah, and then we're doing chronologically, so I'm going to do a couple back-to-back here. But the next one I had was a little bit later in the game. It was in the second half. It was actually the start of the fourth quarter. And that was Rashawn Gary's sack near the goal line for the Lions. Almost had a safety, this close to getting the safety. But at this point, it was 17-6. With the whole fourth quarter to go, so decent amount of time left. Detroit had the ball at their own 8 after a really nice punt from Danny Whalen, who had a very good game, very awesome game from Whalen, and the whole punt coverage team as a whole was really good. And then Gary just abuses the left tackle for the Lions with a long arm power rush and sacks Goff for a 7-yard loss, almost gets the safety, really gets Decker in the left tackle in a bind there.
He tackles both of them at once.
Yeah, and essentially that just ends that drive. And so, because then the Lions end up, on their own one. They don't really want to drop back. They run 2 running plays, don't get anything, punt it away. And because they're so backed up, the Packers get it at like the 36-yard line and are then able to drive and get a score and make it 24-6. And then the game is, that kind of felt like, okay, the Packers like are now firmly in control of this game because it's a 3-score game now.
Okay, and that leads right into my next moment, which was that following offensive possession after the great return by Reed got him at the 36. So what I like to call the Josh Jacobs possession, because really before that they were having trouble getting the run game going very effectively. He had maybe one good run before that, but Jacobs gained 33 of the Packers' 36 yards and scored the touchdown and handled the ball on 5 of the 8 plays. This included the Packers' longest run of the day at 15 yards. The best the run game looked all day, as I mentioned it, and when Detroit should have been expecting the run as well, they're still able to get some push and move the ball. And as you said, it increased Green Bay's lead to 24-6. I think 24-6.
Yeah.
Essentially ending the game with 7 minutes and 57 seconds left.
Yeah.
And it also gave him 9 straight games with a touchdown for the Packers,
which is also awesome. And yeah, like you mentioned, the running game had really been struggling up until that point. And we'll talk about that in the big picture a little bit. But to be able to assert your will where it's like, okay, like we're going to run the ball here and we're going to get 5 yards of carry. Like we're going to like ram it just right down the middle. I was like, okay, way to just assert yourself there on that drive and like really put the game away.
Yeah. And I rewatched that touchdown play. And this is like one of the better, like just bullies their way into the end zone almost untouched on a 2-yard run.
Oh, we'll talk about that when we talk about our underrated player of the game. About some key performers on that play.
Really nice. It's like to see, like it's not like, oh, we just barely is the nose over the football over. It's like no, he just walked right in, still standing.
And you have, I think, one more moment to go, right?
Yeah, I forgot that I get to go twice in a row. I didn't think I had this much, responsibility and trust, but. And this one is closer to a moment than anything else I talked about so far, and that's the sack by Parsons of Goff, where he just comes charging down on him like a velociraptor. I would like to see somebody like put a velociraptor in video with his jersey on, chasing after Goff and dragging him down.
You got AI now for that, Dad. You can just make that yourself.
I don't have to do any work. Just let AI do the work.
What was I going to say though? I mean, I've watched that play probably 30 times. He is so ridiculously fast. Like, I get that he's chasing Jared Goff, who is not the fastest guy to say the least, but the way he explodes out of the like crowd of bodies. I mean, my favorite of the analogies, because I've heard looks like a cheetah like chasing a gazelle, looks like a lion running down a giraffe, velociraptor, like you said. My favorite though is like looks like the villain in a horror movie, like coming out of the woods and like sprinting at you, because like the way he pops out of the crowd
a couple of times.
How is he moving that fast, getting out of that crowd? Like it is absurd how quickly he is moving I'd say at his size, but just full stop. Like he is so freaking fast.
Yeah, the explosiveness there, like fights his way out of the double team and then just explodes up to full speed and runs him down. I mean, Goff should be happy he didn't fumble the ball.
And the only thing that like matches like the explosion that he showed on that play is the explosiveness of the crowd when it happened. I mean, the crowd pop there was crazy. And then he's holding the one up, everyone's celebrating with him. I mean, it was an awesome moment for sure. And I do think that like needed to be included in our like biggest moments of the game for sure.
Yeah. It was so cool to watch it happen. And then like the crowd is like sees it coming, gets ready to yell.
You can feel the anticipation building as he's chasing him down.
And the one is both his number and one of many to come.
Yeah, I mean, that was an awesome moment.
And it maybe like hadn't had the biggest effect on the game, but boy, was it fun.
It was fun. It was fun for sure. But yeah, so those were our biggest moments of the game. Now let's, though, Dad, start talking a little bit about the game. A bit big picture, a bit small details. This is going to be kind of just our like deep dive into the game, like what mattered, what didn't, what were the big takeaways, what looked good, what didn't look good, et cetera, et cetera. But do you want to start us off with like your first like deep dive piece of analysis from this game?
Yeah, so one thing that I was really impressed with was like how they like basically kept a roof on the Detroit passing game with their defense. They held Goff to an average depth of target of only 4.2 yards per attempt, which was 33rd out of 33 QBs on the week. It's like less than one per team.
Yeah. And I do think like if you take out that last drive by them, it's probably even lower.
Yeah, I mean they took a lot of plays to make that drive happen, even though they're trying to hurry up.
But he was, I think, throwing it down the field maybe a little bit more even in that last drive than like through the first like 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
So like I feel like yeah, exactly, yeah. But anyway,
if that last play didn't count.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it was a crazy play. So like
that was a crazy
hats off to Tesla because that was an insane catch. But yeah, no, like the safeties, the corners, like the secondary, like it wasn't like an insane day, but like they just kept everything in front of them and just didn't allow any real big plays in the passing game except for a few to Laporta on that like their second drive of the day where they kind of turned him loose a little bit and he kind of. I think there was one where Keyshawn maybe thought they were in man because you could see him turned and running up the field while the rest of the guys were kind of in spots. So maybe a couple miscommunications there. But like for the most part, like you said, just really did a good job of keeping a lid on everything.
Yeah, and last year, so it was 4.2 yards per attempt in this game. Last year, the A dot. And last year it was 7.2. So it was like full 3 yards more, and you only had like 2 games lower. His yards per attempt was only 5.8. Last year, he was at 8.5. And last year, Green Bay themselves gave up 6.4 yards per attempt and 6.9 to Goff, in particular in the game. So they played defense against him very well. They limited his like ability to be aggressive downfield with their coverage. Like, hats off to the safeties. People talk about how they don't believe in their no-name corner group, but I don't think people know how important safeties are to pass defense.
Did you see Bullard got the start next to McKinney, by the way?
I did. He saw that he was – I heard about that. I didn't notice it in the beginning when I first watched the game that he was in there. And then something about like Williams would come in on like nickel.
Passing. Yeah,
and passing
exactly.
downs.
Which like kind of makes sense because, Bullard's a little bit better at coming from depth and tackling and like being a little more physical, and Williams is better in coverage. So that kind of makes some sense. But like you were saying, shout out to the safeties. I also want to say I feel like the linebackers did a really good job of getting depth in coverage to keep like stuff in front of them. Because like at times last year, there was a lot of like strikes that would be thrown between the linebackers and the safeties. Like there'd be a lot of space there. And I thought there are a couple of clips going around on Blue Sky and other social media sites where you can see Quay Walker dropping in depth and like he is sitting like the one he almost got a pick on. He is sitting on that dig over and over and over again trying to get. And I think it was oh goodness, I can't remember who it was. But they posted a couple clips of it clipped together where he's like trying to like sit on that dig there. And so I do think it was also the linebackers getting depth was a big part of that as well.
Yeah, and as soon as you mentioned that was the first play that came to mind where he almost had the pick there.
I almost had it. There's a couple of those in Quay Walker's highlights where it's like, wow, he like if he that's why he plays defense of it all. It's like man, if he had some hands, he'd have that pick right there.
He would have been a tight end.
Yeah, exactly. My first big takeaway though is similar to yours because it's also defense related, and I mean, I do think it was the most important piece of this game, in my opinion. And that was the play of the front seven for the defense. Just so physically dominant and imposing for pretty much the entire game. And I want to start off with the run game because I think that was like I said, the defensive front seven was the most important part. The run defense was the most important part of the most important part. Just so important. I mean, Montgomery and Gibbs had 20 carries for 44 yards, just completely stifled them. And this was something we talked about going into the game, that it was going to be a big test between two unknowns with, the young interior offensive line of the Lions with some new starters there. And then the young interior defensive line of the Packers with, Kenny and Slayton gone and new starters there. And the Packers defensive tackles were up to the task with Wooden having a really good game, Wyatt having a really good game, Brooks having a really good game, Stackhouse getting in there as well. I didn't notice him as much, but he was playing as well. So the Packers, this stat was crazy. Hit the Lions at or behind the line of scrimmage on 16 of 22 run plays per next gen stats. Just living in the backfield along the defensive line. And it was the defensive tackles, but it was also the edge players. Like Van Ness had an awesome day in run defense as well. Gary had a good day as well. The linebackers, Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, were knifing into the backfield like crazy. Parsons held up against the run a couple times. One specifically stands out in my mind. I think it was the Gibbs run where he ended up like a 6-yard loss because Cooper shoots into the backfield. On that play, Parsons is really standing up Sewell there on the edge to, keep that from bouncing outside. And so that was awesome. But they allowed the Packers defense allowed the 4th lowest EPA per carry allowed on the week, 8th lowest rushing success rate allowed on the week, lowest rushing yards over expectation allowed on the week. These are all per NFL Pro. And all that with the 4th lowest rate of stacked boxes on defense. So it's not like they were committing a lot of extra bodies to the run there. Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, like I mentioned, really got after it. Just like a real team effort there from everyone involved.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And my segment was actually overlapping a bit with yours, but slightly different numbers. So it's kind of the rallying, the tackling, both in the
go ahead and go to that, and I'll talk about the pass game in a second after that. But go ahead and talk about the tackling. Yeah,
so they had they gave up the 4th fewest yards before contact against the run on the week. They were good at it last year too. Actually, continuation of last year where they were the 3rd best. Jahmyr Gibbs caught 10 balls for only 31 yards, the lowest ever for someone with at least 10 receptions.
And we've seen how dangerous he can be in the screen game in like catches and run after catch. And the fact that I think Cooper was like the super highlight of that, because it felt like every single time Gibbs caught a pass and turned to look upfield, Cooper was right on him and was getting him to the ground every time.
Yeah, Cooper by himself, he had 11 tackles, 1 assist, and 8 stops.
Yeah,
for Cooper alone in one game.
I mean,
they
he's
had a total
fantastic.
Of 30 stops on the week, and last year they only averaged 22 stops per game.
Yeah. I mean, the run defense was phenomenal. I mean, I'm just thinking about in my mind's eye clips where Wooden is just pushing Mahogany back and getting into the backfield. Quay Walker knifing into the backfield. Edgerrin Cooper, on that one I already mentioned where Parsons is standing up Sewell. Edgerrin Cooper getting into the backfield. One of the first plays of the game, they try and block LVN with Sam Laporta, I think, or a tight end. I can't remember exactly which one. And, I mean, why are you blocking a 270-pound defensive end with a tight end, I guess is a fair question. But he just throws the tight end and he's right in the backfield right away. I mean, the physicality the front 7 played with in the run game. And like you mentioned, the clean fundamentals as well to get all those players to the ground when they got there, I think is just such an awesome thing. And, shout out to Marcus Covington. I mean, comes in as the new defensive line coach, a lot on his plate in terms of hey, we need to get these guys to play better. I mean, it sure helps when you get Micah Parsons as well. But the defensive line played a lot better. I mean, they were good against the run last year. But in terms of, and we'll talk about the pass rush in a second when I continue, but just the physicality, I feel and the temperament and the energy was just so palpable from the defensive line in the front 7, don't you think?
Yeah, and this is the thing that we were worried about, and when they lost both Slayton and Kenny Clark.
And Kenny, yeah, we talked about that.
Okay, we got people playing new roles, really, like Colby Wooden, former edge defensive end, working his way up slowly, closer and closer to the ball until he's a nose tackle.
Colby Wooden, who everyone keeps trying to cut during the offseason, 2 years running. Everyone keeps trying to get this guy off the team.
I will confess, my first, 53-man did not have Colby Wooden on it. That was before I knew he was moving to nose tackle. That was back.
Yeah, that was back when he weighed 30 pounds less, huh? That was back when he was 270 pounds.
But they still list him as 273.
Yeah, that's a damn lie. There's no way. But he carries his weight pretty well. I think he's probably 290, 300 right now. Yeah, he carries it well.
I think he had already gotten to 290 his rookie year. I think he's easily over 3 now.
Yeah. But anyway, I want to move on to talking about the pass rush a little bit as well. I feel like it was a lot better than the numbers say it was. The numbers say it was just average. So 19 pressures and 4 sacks per PFF. Per NFL Pro, though, surprisingly, only 22nd on the week in pressure rate, 25th in time to pressure, and 30th in time to throw. I thought it felt a lot better than that, though, so I'm a little bit surprised at those numbers, but I figured I would at least read them out here. But I felt like the pass rush was a lot more impactful than that. Parsons obviously was great in limited snaps. We'll talk about him later, but 2 pressures and a sack in just 29 snaps. But Gary, 5 pressures, 1.5 sacks. LVN, 4 pressures, 1 sack. Wyatt, 4 pressures, 1 sack. Brooks had a couple of pressures. We're all really impactful. And this is a fun stat from Keegan Abdu of Next Gen Stats. And I teased this to you later when we were talking off air, and I was gonna say I'm gonna have this question for you, and I want you to see if you're gonna get it right. So the Packers had 7 plays with Parsons, Gary, and LVN on the field. How many yards do you think they allowed in those 7 plays?
Yeah, so you've already shown me the answer, which, luckily I can't actually remember exactly what it was, but I just don't remember having much success. I didn't catch every time.
6 yards in 7 plays.
Yards.
Less than a yard per play on the 7 plays that those 3 were on the field, which they're calling it the cheetah package, which, sure, I love it. But yeah, so on those plays, they would kick LVN into kind of a pseudo defensive tackle, and they would have those 3, and usually Wyatt would be the 4th guy, and just wreak havoc. I mean, it was sick. It was really fun to watch. And LVN had a really good game, like quietly. He's not going to be the story of this game because it's a lot of the attention is going to go to Parsons, rightfully. But LVN and Gary and Wyatt, I mean, all had really good games as well, like I highlighted.
And that's actually a lineup we talked about that I thought would be really nice, really fun on passing downs, to have all 3 edge rushers in with LVN inside next to Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
To have the maximum amount of pass rush juice.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun lineup, and I look forward to seeing more of it going forward.
Right. Yeah, if we have that lineup playing more and more snaps, then the projected yards per play for our opponents should be very low.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just got to extrapolate that out to a whole game, right? Like easy peasy.
It's like they'll only get like 60 yards a game, and that's as they play at a high pace.
But I thought that the just to wrap it all up, the defensive front was really like the story of the game in a lot of ways. Since you already did your second, I'll go to my second as well. And this is like the only negative I really had for the game. Just some struggles with the short yardage running game. Probably the only negative, like I said. So the Packers had 4 carries on 3rd and 2 or less and converted none of them, which was the worst in the league on the week. I just don't understand why we seem to love going in shotgun in those looks. I feel like it doesn't let Jacobs get a full head of steam going, and I would rather just see us go under center and have him get a full head of steam and just try and ram his way through there. But yeah, 4 attempts there and didn't get a single one. We tried 1 wildcat, 1 direct snap to Jacobs that did not work either. So yeah, I think that was
just looked awkward.
Yeah, because the snap was high, and so he wasn't able to get, like, he had to stop for a second to catch it. It just didn't quite work. I understand what they were thinking, but yeah, the execution was just a little off. But Dad, what did you think about the struggles in short yardage for the running game?
Yeah, this has kind of been a bugaboo for the Packers for a few years now, where it feels like our worst aspect of our run game is the short yardage situation, and we were hoping that beefing up the line was going to fix some of these problems. So the one time where it seemed to work well was Jacobs' touchdown.
With more backup linemen in, which is like why it's a little weird, but...
Yeah, it also felt like, I guess the short yardage is a little bit different, but a lot of times for the run game, the Lions are really loading the box up. They were trying to take away the run in the beginning.
And they had talked about that on the broadcast, that like the Lions were coming in, whereas like their goal was to take away the running game in Jacobs. And like early on, the Packers, really punished that by kind of throwing all over them. And then I think in the second half, the Packers barely threw the ball at all. So like it was it was a bit of a tale of two halves for the offense in some ways, where first half, a lot of passing, second half, a lot of running.
Yeah, I think the Packers with the lead changed their offensive game plan and didn't keep going back to the pass since they had the lead. They just wanted to kind of try to grind it out. And but they didn't end up holding the ball for very long and running much clock either.
No, which is like fine when you're scoring really fast. That's the thing, is like time of possession, like it's great to have the lead in time of possession, but like if your time of possession is bad because you're scoring in 2 plays, like we'll take that.
Right. Better to have the advantage in points than time of possession.
Yeah. And so the one of the last things I wanted to touch on was one of the other overall things was I thought the offensive line, specifically in pass protection, was really good, and specifically against the blitz. So overall, on all passing plays, only 8 pressures allowed, which percentage-wise is middle of the pack because we just didn't have many dropbacks. But with a 3.4 second time to pressure, that was second best in the league, and 0 sacks allowed. I think it's fair to say that, the offensive line really did their job in pass protection, and specifically against the blitz, because the Lions blitzed a lot early. Still 3.3 second time to pressure against the blitz, which was second best in the league. So almost the same time to pressure against the blitz and not against the blitz, which is like really impressive. 12.2 yards per play against the blitz, 0.66 EPA per pass against the blitz, which were both third in the league. So just really torched the blitz. And Matt LaFleur specifically highlighted that Josh Jacobs and Chris Brooks had some of the best pass protection he's seen in his time here. And like a lot of that was like due to them picking up those extra blitzers and just great communication from the offensive line as well, especially with guys rotating in and out. Like that's also like something to like, highlight as well. It's like, it wasn't just like the same group the whole time. They had new guys coming in and they still did a really good job of communicating the stunts, the blitz, the twists. Like I just thought the offensive line and pass protection was phenomenal. And like the backs as well, doing a great job blocking as well.
Yeah. It looked like for a lot of the game, Jordan had time to do whatever he wanted to or needed to on a play, let him go for some of those shots downfield, which, compared to the Lions, they had very few times where they had that opportunity to wait to throw it downfield.
Which kind of is a testament to your next takeaway, which is just the offensive efficiency in general was really good. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the line gave Jordan a lot of time to throw.
Yeah. And so, as you mentioned, like according to NFL Pro, Green Bay was first in the week in EPA per pass, fourth in yards per pass play, fifth overall in EPA per play, according to RBSDM. And a lot of this seemed to be on like the big plays, which kind of fits with the time of possession favoring the Lions that the Packers had, even though they, easily outscored and were in control. It seemed like they're in control of the game from the beginning. The Lions had the ball more, but what was interesting is the drop back success rate was only 26th in the league. So that EPA per play was built on some of those big plays, like the passes to
a lot of explosives early,
and Dobbs and the touchdown to Kraft. Interestingly, while the rush EPA per play was only 11th in the league, so still above average, even though it seemed like they were. Their rush success rate was 7th.
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't pop any like big running plays at all, it felt like. But like in the second half, we were really grinding out yards and getting some like decent movement at least. Yeah,
and I think that that it called the Jacobs possession really kind of, I think, improved that, where they're getting what they needed to. And so their success rate was actually higher, at least in terms of ranking in the league, on the rushing plays, while the EPA per play was higher on the passing plays in terms of ranking in the league. This is this interesting switch that they seem to be struggling, but their success rate was good. While the passing play, they were moving the ball with big plays, even though down to down they were not always successful on everything.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was a nice day from the offense overall. And just to kind of put a bow on all of that, my last thing was just the little things, and this kind of ties into the offense. 0 offensive penalties. The whole game, 0. Like just a clean operation with, like I mentioned, multiple different offensive linemen rotating in, a lot of different pass catchers rotating in, 0 offensive penalties, and only 3 on defense. So like not a lot there. And one of them was a really ticky-tack. Who asked for this taunting penalty emphasis, man? Like who
all
wanted
he did was stand there?
Yeah, and like it's like no one cares. Like as long as like if someone's just standing there, like why do we need a penalty for that? But anyway, I digress. And then I thought just in terms of little things as well, as someone who has criticized the special teams many, many times, the kick and punt coverage were fantastic in this game. I mean, Nick Niemann had an awesome tackle on, I think it was a punt. Can't remember if it was a punt or a kick, but I think it was a punt. Overall, just really good coverage on kicks. It was just a really good kick and punt coverage day from the special teams units. And Waylon had a great day. McManus made all his kicks. But yeah, just for the most part, really good day from the special teams as a whole. A few penalties on the return, so that like kind of was like a little bit like you wish we didn't have those penalties there, but the coverage units were really good.
Yeah, and I think if I remember right, that Niemann tackle was the one on the punt where the punt play itself ran the clock down
a long time,
21 seconds to 5 seconds before half. It's like, oh, nope, no time left. Not going to do anything.
Like 8 of those seconds were just crazy hang time from Waylon, too, because he boomed the crap out of the ball.
He boomed it. And then...
I'm being hyperbolic, of course, but like he kicked the crap out of the ball in that punt.
Yeah, and then the return guy is like running all over the place trying to find space. And then Niemann comes in and like closing speed on that one,
I mean, he goes flying. Like you
see
him flying through the air. It's like the slow motion scene from the other guys when they jump off the roof, and it's there
Aim
goes
for the bushes.
my hero. If you just had that in slow motion with that song behind it,
What were they as they say that, what was he thinking?
It wasn't even an awning in that direction. But no, yeah, but so yeah, I just wanted to highlight the special teams had a good day in coverage, with the punt coverage and kick coverage units.
Was that our best special teams game in ages?
Well, I'm always going to say the best special teams game is going to be like a game-winning kick game. So like I'll say those, but fair enough.
Maybe the best coverage.
Best kick and punt coverage I feel like I can remember.
I feel like we've had in a while.
Yeah. But Dad, let's go to our last bit, which is players of the game. So this year we've always done players of the game, but we're doing our players of the game, and then we're doing our under the radar players of the game, because sometimes there are guys who don't necessarily either play a flashy position or have a lot of big plays, but they were critical to the success of the team as a whole. So we wanted to highlight them as well. But Dad, who was your overall player of the game, though? Your first player of the game?
So I did this after you already had all your notes in, but I also picked Micah Parsons for me.
You gave away the one that I was going to do, but yeah, no, it was Micah Parsons for me as well. And I'll give you a stat in a second, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I just felt like the success of Gary and Van Ness really seemed to be multiplied by his presence on the field, in part because he was getting the double teams instead of them.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth, because I have a stat for that, and this was actually from
so
First
you actually
Things
have
First.
numbers. I have feelings.
Yes,
today.
But First Things First had this. So 3 of the Packers' 4 sacks happened with Micah on the field, and with Micah on the field, they allowed 2.5 yards per play, and with him off the field, it was 4.9. So like almost half as many yards per play allowed with him on the field as off. Like he was very impactful in this game. So had to highlight him, and also highlight him in his Packers debut. And it was nice to see them do have him come out last, have the huge crowd roar. Like that was really cool as well. And so that was pretty sick. But Dad, who is your under the radar player of the game?
So my under is this, I think when you say like somebody doesn't do something flashy, Chris Brooks.
Yeah.
So
this is the perfect example of the type of player that we're looking for.
The running back who picks up the blitzer. I mean, that you don't get much, screen time for that. But he played 9 snaps on offense. 5 of them were blocking, and he had the second highest pass blocking grade on the week at 81.9.
There was a rep where he was blocking a D tackle.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He hands off the stunt to I don't know who is to his right.
I think it was Ryan, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
On the stunt to maybe Ryan. I don't know if
I think it was Ryan. I think it was Ryan. But anyway, go ahead.
Then picks up the D tackle who's coming in and stands him up 1-on-1.
Yeah, a 300-pound D tackle, and it's like he's just scrapping with him. I mean, what a dog! Yeah. I mean, yeah,
and then he great. In addition to that, he also had the highest run blocking grade of the team by PFF at 76.7.
He's a dog.
And I watched one of them. He totally flattens Derek Barnes. They don't end up running his way, but his run block on that just took the guy out of the play.
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect example of the type of player we want in this zone. For me, I had Sean Ryan. No pressures allowed in the passing game. Had one rep where he just, I think it was that same play where the stunt gets passed off to him, and he just like folds Anzalone over and lays on top of him, and just like it's just done. It's over. The rep is done. And then was also really impactful in the running game. Had a really good block on Jacobs' touchdown run where he just moves the guy all the way across and then just pancakes him into the dirt. But yeah, I thought Sean Ryan had a really nice day as well at right guard, and so I wanted to highlight him and shout him out. There are some other guys I thought of. Jordan Morgan had a really good game as well. There were some other guys as well I wanted to highlight, but he was the one that I specifically wanted to point out.
Yeah, and then they got to be like Kennard's run blocking when he had to come in.
And Kennard coming in on very limited amount of practice time, like hasn't been with the team very long, and like acquitting himself well at right tackle. Like
give him a quick shout out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of other guys we could highlight as well, but definitely like we could go on and on and on. I mean, this is a very good performance from Green Bay, so it's fair to highlight a number of players, but we'd be here all day.
Has any player of the Packers in the last few years come along since their rookie year as much as Ryan has?
That's a very good question, because like he's like a solid guard now, and it was like, okay, he can't play his rookie year, like he couldn't play at all.
He couldn't get on the field.
Exactly. And now it's like, okay, he's like a good starting guard. And I wanted to, we talked about him briefly, but Colby Wooden also. Shout out to Colby Wooden, like essentially almost playing a new position for him this year and just kicking ass, like just kicking ass out there.
I thought he had a great game.
Yeah. Any other players, any other things you wanted to shout out, or like before we wrap up, any other ones that like you didn't get a chance to touch on? Any last things?
Yeah, who else did I, not notice or I should have mentioned? I mean, I feel like McKinney, the safeties must have had a good game. Because
they didn't grade out well per PFF, but like it's hard to like because like what was really happening. There was nothing happening behind them, so I don't know.
There was just not much open for Goff to throw to.
I thought Reed did a nice job with that punt return off of that drive we talked about, the one that ended up in the Jacobs drive. That was a big punt return there. So I wanted to highlight that as well. I don't know if that was the repunt one.
No, that wasn't the repunt. You're right. The repunt was earlier.
But so I wanted to highlight that because I mean he's playing with a bad foot and he's out there returning punts. Like that's pretty tough stuff.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't flare up on him.
Yeah, hopefully. And I guess just one last thing. I mean, we didn't talk about him much. We talked about him a little bit, but Jordan Love had a really good day. 16 of 22 for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that's a pretty good day. And just like really clean with the operation. Like, so we talked about, picking up the blitzes, like was really good by the line and the running backs, but that's the quarterback too. Like having the operation down, like knowing where the blitz is coming from, rearranging the protections, like calling out, like bringing guys in, motioning guys, like all that stuff was like A1 as well. And like, I mean, he was just absolutely on fire in the first half. And there was the like one like play where I was like, oh, Jordan, what was that? The one where he almost threw the pick to Anzalone on the left. Like that play, I was like, I don't know what happened there. But outside of that, every other thing, I mean, the throw to Kraft is just such a beautiful ball. The layered throw over the shoulder to Reed for the touchdown is an amazing throw. The Dobbs deep post was an awesome throw. I mean, like, and then like we talked about the third down conversions early in the game. I mean, it was a nice game from Love, and we didn't talk about him yet, but I did want to, add him here at the end just to, say he played really well too.
Yeah, I feel like all those first down conversions those throws they made in that first possession,
they were huge,
just really clean. Just hitting the receiver in stride, right on point, and all of those with great timing.
Yeah,
it just looked really, really smooth.
Yeah. But anyway, this has been our breakdown of the Packers' Week 1 win over the Lions as we move to 1-0 and 1-0 in the division. Great way to start the season. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back in just a day after you're hearing this, doing our preview for the Packers Thursday night matchup against Washington. So check that out. Thank you again for listening. We'll be doing an episode or 2 episodes actually every single week throughout the season, pre and post game. So check those out. Follow us on Blue Sky at Father Son Packer for updates on when new episodes are out, Packers related news, roster moves, injury reports, etc., etc., etc. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Leave a review, tell a friend, leave a comment. We love interacting with, everyone in the Packers community, best fans in the world. But anyway, thanks for listening. And until next time, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.